So I want to welcome everyone. I'm Katie Sorensen, Director of Outreach and Communications at the Center for Art and Wood. I want to start with just a little bit of housekeeping. For those who are joining us virtually, if you would like to use the subtitle function, just please click the little square box with the CCs on it. It's either down at the bottom or sometimes up at the top, depending on the type of device that you're using. That way you won't miss a thing. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that NextFab and the Center for Art and Wood are both located on the land of the Lenni Lenape Nation. We honor those who steward these lands past, present, and future. And if you'd like to learn more, I will be adding in the chat a link to their website so you can hear their stories and learn more about them, as well as a link to a piece that WHYY did on them. So thank you for joining us for the Winter Residency Gallery Talk. This is the second edition of the new residency in partnership with NextFab and the Center for Art and Wood. If you can believe it, last year was the inaugural launch of this special residency, and we still can't believe that it happened with everything that was going on last year. This residency not only offers access to amazing equipment and workspace here at NextFab, but it also supports our environmental stewardship by requiring reclaimed wood to comprise at least 50% of the fellows' work during the residency. I'd like to say a special thank you to our winter residency jurors, Kelly McGovern, Textiles Department Manager at NextFab, Layla Cartier, Executive Director of Craft Now Philadelphia, Nashay Jones, Artist, Scholar, and Curator, Ryan Hyde, Assistant Director, Instructional Design and Delivery at NextFab, and of course, Jennifer Nava-Milliken, our Executive Director at the Center for Art and Wood. I'd like to introduce our 2022 fellow, Robert Aiosa. His works are site-specifically and employs a mix of fine and construction-grade materials with highly detailed carving techniques. He investigates the built environment and its social, economic, and environmental impacts. He was born in Smithtown, New York, and Aiosa currently lives and works right here in Philadelphia. He earned his BFA from the University of Arts and his MFA from the University of Wisconsin, Madison in 2015. He joined the staff of renowned print atelier Graphicstudio at University of South Florida, Tampa, as its research associate and sculpture fabricator. His work has been shown throughout the United States, most recently a solo exhibition at Sanger Gallery, Key West, Florida, Skyway 2021, Museum of Fine Arts, St. Petersburg, Florida, and was included in the 2018 Florida Prize exhibition at the Orlando Museum of Art. He has been a recipient of many awards and fellowships, including the Vermont Studio Center, Haystack Mountain School of Arts, and Sculpture Space. So Robert, with that, I'd like to have you come up and start your presentation.
Thank you, Katie. Let me take this off so you all can hear me better. I just want to start by thanking NextFab and the Center for Art and Wood. This was a great last two months, spending the time here creating the piece and just working on my practice. I like to start these artist talks with a couple images that I take. I like to just kind of roam around communities and snap pictures and get inspiration from my surroundings. This first image is from Miami Beach. It really kind of sums up what I'm interested in the built environment. Our built environments are so charged. There's so many different facets to them, politically, environmentally, and socially. So I love this image because it's supporting this facade here, this really interesting kind of Art Deco facade, and you could see on the bottom, what these developers are gonna try to promote you to get you interested in purchasing one of these condos. Go to the next slide. This was actually taken here in Philadelphia. This is probably, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago. I can't really remember. It's either Girard Avenue or Ridge Avenue. Regardless, that area is completely different now from when this photo was taken. So my work is really interested in kind of that constant change, the constant development, and really, especially here in hometown, it's so rapid. You blink and another building goes up. And so I'm just really interested in kind of that transitional state, that liminal state. And I really love those forms. Those support structures are just kind of like sculptures in themselves. And so I'll start with a not too terribly old piece, but I was invited to show at the South by East Triennial at Florida Atlantic University. And so they gave me this space, and they really wanted me to do a site-specific installation. And it's kind of a really enormous space, and it's almost a glorified hallway. It's a really difficult space to kind of think about creating something off the existing architecture. But a couple of proposals in, and they accepted this one. And see some details here. But what I'm doing is kind of taking the space and kind of creating these structures spanning in between the two walls, and kind of just playing off of that negative space there, and kind of bringing that liminal state of like, is it being deconstructed? Is it being constructed? I kind of like the ambiguity of that, not knowing what is actually happening, kind of reminiscent of walking around, our urban environments and watching these developments go up. So this is a great proposal. There's 3 structures spanning this long corridor. There's a little detailed process shot of it going up. It was created in segments, and then we scissored lift each segment up. And you could see here, it kind of, I think it goes to about 6.5 feet. And, if someone really wanted to, they could jump and kind of climb up the things. That's why I was kind of surprised that the facilities and everybody, they went with this one. But I was thrilled. I was really happy with it. It actually was on view for a good 2 years. So they were happy enough not to take it down after that. It was too much of a hassle to take it down, or they enjoyed it. But either way, I was pleased. So fast forward to 2019, as Katie mentioned, I was invited to exhibit for the Florida Prize exhibition. And what that was is the curators of the Orlando Museum of Art, they asked artists in the state of Florida that they think are creating important work and exciting work. I believe there was 10 of us that year. And it's for the Florida Prize. I believe it was 20 grand. I did not win, but the winning artist was amazing. He deserved it, no doubt. But this is my installation. And so they kind of design it. Each artist has a space, and they want it to be kind of like a solo show, which was really great because we divided up this humongous museum. So I had quite a lot of space to work with. Here's another installation shot of the work. And so I really brought back that site-specific language. I'm kind of inspired by the waffle ceiling you see in this image, which this waffle ceiling was designed by the architects who were inspired by the Whitney Brower waffle ceiling in New York City, that cast concrete waffle. And so I kind of took that grid and I kind of jammed it into this wall. The title of this piece is Archaeology Memory. And so what I'm talking about here is kind of like remnants of maybe a family or uh, a certain person who left objects behind during maybe leaving their home behind, or maybe they're moving in, but they're finding these fragments that was there before them. So in the grid, there's some familial objects. We have maybe this is a slingshot from a child, that uses it as a toy. And so I'm kind of talking about people that existed there before us, and kind of respecting that, and maybe talking about displacement, and that very charged situation. This is another piece that's part of the whole installation, causes of uncertainty. And so I'm thinking about blue collar trades and development, and also leaving things behind. So here we have tools of the trade, a ladder, a sawhorse, but we also have a furniture object. And so we kind of got these remnants and these discarded pieces of construction debris, just, sprawled across them, as if it's like a working demolition site, or, a moving site or renovation site. It's another image. It's a detail. I did fabricate all these objects. There are some other details. There's a lot of cast details in this form here within the sculpture. I made a mold of the hammer and cast that. That's bronze. So another piece in the installation. This is a allowable capacity for deception. And this is talking directly to our ability as a society to take the belief of the industry, and to kind of think about materials and accept the fact that it is a faux material. Like, this is a piece of laminate taped on OSB, and this form is a countertop form. And so I'm kind of talking about just having that, allowing us as a society to accept things that we can't control, I guess, in a way. There's kind of a lot to take away from that, but I think about, when you're shown like an apartment or something, they're like, oh, these are marble countertops and stuff, and you look at it, you're like, obviously it's not marble countertops, but they're getting away with it, and we're accepting that, and we're letting them do it. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that conversation a little bit. So fast forward to 2021. This is a solo exhibition that I was invited to do at the Senga Gallery in Key West. I was awarded a stipend and everything. It was part of their programming. They invite a wood artist every year to have a solo show in their gallery. And so it came with some time to do some research in Key West, which was phenomenal. I mean, that is a phenomenal place. I've never been there before, and I was just completely blown away. Very historic, really, really gorgeous town. So this piece is called Allotment, and the word allotment is really charged. I'm taking it from the historical context of when our government was stealing land from the indigenous tribes and selling it to individuals. And so I have carved remnants to kind of bring that to the forefront. I have a mandible and some bones and some other native plants to South Florida at the time. The monstera, there's a detail of the mandible. And the color choice is kind of like that iron oxide kind of clay. color. And so this monstera is kind of significant because in Spanish it means ribs, Castillo, and it's ribs. And so I thought that was really beautiful that, you know, it's structural, it's a rib, it's, you know, it's kind of like the human body. And so it's talking about, you know, the human body within this form, which the form, for me, I use the grid as the built environment. And so the two kind of are playing off each other, which I thought, you know, was kind of hitting home for me. This other piece in the exhibition is secondary burial. And it's kind of playing on that same topic of, you know, digging in the soil and development and finding remnants of the past, you know, while you're trying to build the future. And so this piece is actually site specific to this little room that was in the gallery. It's probably about 8.5 feet wide. And so I have the piece kind of at eye height. And so you walk in, you kind of can, you know, be face to face with these bones. This piece actually was destroyed, well, not destroyed, but reused for the structure of the Palladian window for this residency. Because, you know, this piece was never going to be shown again. It was site specific for that space. So it's a little detail. Whoa, it's blown out. This piece is a fern. It's the title is Persistent Conflict. There we go. And so while I was doing research in Key West, you know, I'm snapping pics and stuff, and I came across this little guy. And I just love this little moment right here. It's like this fern is just, you know, peeking through this fence. He's like, he's got to get that sun. And so I kind of took that to heart, and I had a fern in my backyard at the time that, you know, reminded me of that plant. So little process here. I photographed it. I traced each petal, and then transferred that onto a piece of wood. This is basswood, and then started to, you know, cut that out in the bandsaw and carve it and lay it out to create the fern. But yeah, this piece, you know, persistent conflict. We're always in the conflict with. We want to build our built environments, but we also want to respect our natural environment as well. And I feel like perhaps, you know, it's evident that we are not doing a good enough job with thinking about the natural landscape. It's an installation view of it. Next piece in the exhibition is encroachment. I really fell in love with these vernacular Bahama shutters down there. These were everywhere. You know, the sun is intense down there, so you got to shield your environment. And I just thought they were these really interesting. They're kind of like these minimalist sculptures on the facade of the homes, and so I was really kind of smitten with them. Like that one's as simple as you can get, but it's effective, right? And so I kind of was thinking about domestic space and kind of dense environments. And so I created, you know, these 3 in the corner here, and those 2 are just touching ever so slightly. And there's a branch that's kind of peeking through. It's kind of wedged in between. Have a detail, yeah. It's a carved branch. It's kind of blown out. Sorry about that. This next piece is 3/3 over a shallow grave. So the 3/3 is a direct reference just to windows and making of windows. It's kind of how you determine, you know, how many planes are in the window. So 3/3 over shallow grave is, I was seeing a lot of headlines to developments breaking the soil and finding remnants of grave sites. There was a lot happening in Florida at the time, and there was one happening here in 2018, I think, in Old City, where the construction crew came across quite a few coffins and stuff. And so just thinking about that and thinking about the lives that were forgotten, and I thought that was really powerful, you know, like how can that happen? Like, you know, treating the remains as an individual and respecting them. It's just part of our society and part of history. But yeah, these things happen, and every so often that comes up. So these were all carved out of basswood and just kind of laid within the grid. And so that brings us to the current project. I was thinking about this residency and what I could do kind of in the 2-month span. And I had a lot of ideas, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to do so much. But reality set in. And so I started looking at my plants again in my house, and I was like, you know, these are really interesting. It's another type of monstera. And so same process. I started to trace each leaf on a piece of paper, and then transferred the paper onto the leaf and started carving them. And I started carving before I thought about what structure I wanted to use. You know, I try not to plan too much. I kind of like some spontaneity in my practice. But I do plan a lot too, just because it can be kind of technical. This is the process shot of the arches there, just segmented glue up. And then my buddy Ryan helped me with the CNC template to cut the curves. And so I think those came out just beautiful. And so I was, you know, walking around my neighborhood, which is a very old neighborhood on Mount Airy. And I'm looking at all these windows, and like each window, you know, there's so many different, you know, styles. But I came across the Palladian window so much, and it's everywhere in Philadelphia. This is a library in Chestnut Hill. And so I was just like thinking about these windows and researching kind of like, you know, why do civic buildings, you know, are so obsessed with like the Palladian window? And it just goes back to like neoclassicism and just the transfer of ideas from, you know, early colonial times. And so I'm just walking around the city taking pictures of all these different, you know, riffs on the Palladian window. Like this isn't an official one, but it obviously is inspired by it. And this is the, you know, Philadelphia City Hall Annex. And there was a huge rise in neoclassical architecture and kind of like a return to civic duty at that time. And this is probably one of the most glamorous Palladian window. It's George Washington's Mount Vernon mansion, and this is one of the most elaborate rooms in that mansion. I have not been there. This is taken from the internet, but I could just imagine what that must feel like, being in that room with that kind of formal setting. And so I was thinking, you know, about our government and kind of all these views that they kind of want to bestow on us and grandiose ideas. And so I'm thinking it's just not working out. So I'm just going to set it ablaze. And so I use the leaves as kind of like a metaphor for the fire. And so I wanted to portray that idea, you know, this Palladian window just set ablaze, you know, let's start over. Let's burn it down. You know, we gotta reevaluate what's happening. Yeah, so that was the kind of concept behind that. Yes, it's called A Fragile State. But yeah, that's all I have for you. Thank you for your time.
The fern that you had in your yard, is it the same size as the piece that you did?
Yeah, it's oh, sure. The question was the fern that I had in the backyard is it the same size as the one that I produced? Yeah, it's a 1-to-1 scale. Yeah, it's God, I think it's about 27 inches long. Yeah.
How do you find your customers, and what do you market your products?
That's a good question. Any customers out there tonight? Yeah, it's hard.
You are a small business, right?
No, I'm an artist. I try to treat it as a small business, but it's tough out there. But a lot of my work is kind of commission based. Some of those examples from like the museum, they want a site specific piece, so it's more of kind of a commission setting than me producing and then selling it.
Do you find these uniform shapes and concepts with the head part and the natural things? Are there different mindsets that you get into in each one of these? Or is there something about each process that has a specific thought or associated?
Yeah, that's a great question. Should I repeat it? Yeah, the question is there a different mindset between the kind of organic carving and the more structural building of like the grids and the windows? I would say yes. I would say that, the carving is, I mean, you're using your body and like using your arms and just kind of like feeling it out, which is really, really fun and really quite beautiful. Whereas, building the structure, it's very, you're using machinery, things have to be precise. And I love that juxtaposition. I love that contrast because I think that's why I enjoy placing the carvings in the kind of minimalist structure. It's just like there is that huge difference in it, like even the way I carve, like they're really faceted. They're not overly polished or anything. So it like leaves evidence of the hand, whereas the structures are kind of very rigid and mechanical. Oh. Unmute. Sorry, I can't. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, Nasheg, you can unmute.
My question was, well, it wasn't so much of a question as it was a comment, but I admit when I first saw your work, I didn't quite know what to make of it. And now that I'm hearing you talk about it, it's a wonderful juxtaposition between the natural world and the built environment. And I know for people who have lived the majority of their lives in urban areas, there's a tendency to forget almost about the natural environment, except in ways that um it serves life in the urban one. So thank you for putting those together because it's a really astute reminder.
Oh, yeah, thank you for that comment. I really appreciate that. And it also kind of plays how important kind of artist talks can be, to really kind of hear them talk about their work really can be really helpful in explaining it.
So I have some questions in the chat. About Polychrome wood. Larry asked, can you tell us why you prefer to work with Polychrome? And then Kristen Levere asked what you mean by polychrome wood, and she also says that your work is wonderful at fern stuff.
Oh, thank you. So Polychrome is just it's a real just art historical way of saying painted wood. Is painted wood, and painted wood is very new for me. I have never thought I would actually be into color as much as I have in the last couple of years. Carving is very new to me as well. It was really a pandemic activity. You know, I had a studio in my backyard, and we all found ourselves home quite a lot. And I was, you know, thinking what I could do in there, because it wasn't really set up like a wood shop. You know, I had a bench and a whole bunch of chisels, and so yeah, I thought I wanted to create a monstera plant, a castilla, but I thought I was going to do it really technical. I thought I was going to like do some steam bending and, you know, just get real nerdy with it. But I started carving, and I was like, oh, you know, this is awesome. And hours just went by, hours. And so I fell in love with it. Yeah.
So Nava has question here. Practice state results from a combination of hand carving and digital production processes. It sort of mirrors your reflection on cohabitating worlds, the built environment and the natural one. Could you talk a bit about this environment? I know you kind of touched on that with Michelle.
Yeah. I think having more time to think about, I think is living in Florida, where there's the natural world is really prevalent. Things grow so fast and everywhere. Like you prune your garden one day, and the next day there's just like some crazy weed growing all over the place. And so there was that just persistent, like, you know, growing, and it was just driving me crazy. But then like it's natural, and I need to embrace it. You know, I can't control that. And I think it really kind of started to really sink in, and like how like the built environment, we are trying to control this landscape, and we're trying to like design it in a way, you know. And most are, you know, parks that we think are natural, or our lakes are natural, they're man-made. And I think it really yeah, I don't know, there's a lot to think about that, I think.
We have another question about what inspired color palette for this.
William Morris, arts and crafts movement, which, you know, is really interesting to think about, you know, movements, you know, utopian movements, you know, they don't exist because they just can't work out, right? And that, you know, the arts and crafts is a beautiful time where, you know, emphasis on hand and material, but, you know, William Morris's wallpaper were so you know, plant heavy, and it's just really inspiring to kind of see those motifs and the colors and everything.
Do you have a favorite plant?
Do I have a favorite plant? No, but I am starting to collect house plants, and it might become a problem.
There's nothing wrong with being a plant lover.
Yeah. Yes.
So, the destruction of the Palladian, curious if the process of creating that form informed your feelings about it. Did it make you appreciate the form of the Palladian? Like it more?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think the form is beautiful. You know, it's a Renaissance design, I think around, you know, 1500s. And it just, you know, it just was transferred from, you know, Renaissance Italy to, you know, the UK and everything. I really love the middle kind of rainbow form. I don't know, looking at it, it's like it's a rainbow to me, but I think I think it's absolutely gorgeous design and style and structure. But what it has come to represent is the kind of the metaphor I was looking at.
Generally speaking, what inspires you to create art?
The built environment, for sure.
Say it again.
The built environment, cities, towns, our domestic spaces. Unmute, Larry.
Thank you. We were just hoping you could answer some of the questions in the chat. I was asking specifically regarding the polychrome wood.
Oh yeah, polychrome is just another term for painted wood. It just comes from art history context. Like you look at an art history book and you see kind of the Greek architectural forms, they were all polychromed. Oh yeah, for sure. I love this place. Oh yeah. Yeah. This place is incredible. The people that work here are incredible. Shout out to all you back there. Thank you so much for all your help. Yeah, it is awesome. I moved back to the city not that long ago, and I didn't have a space. And so the timing of this residency was brilliant. It was wonderful. There's everything you need to create here is really phenomenal. Like you got an idea, you can produce it here. And that was really impressive. And there you go. Yeah, it's awesome. And the Center for Art and Wood, I mean, doesn't get much better than that. Like the research library, is the coziest, warmest, and inviting place to be. And I just kind of, soaked it up. It was great. Yeah, it was awesome spending time on the second floor, just looking at all the work, looking at all the examples of people who were in the residencies and the collection, because it's incredible. It really spans. There was a lot of kind of floral motif carvings in there that really kind of struck me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the question, I think if I got it right, was kind of transitioning from the older work, which is abstracting maybe the built environment more to a more direct, like actually reproducing it. Yeah, I think just the nature of a practice, it evolves. It's still abstracting a little bit. I would say this is a postmodern take on the Palladian window, but yeah, the early work was definitely abstracting it more, so it wasn't it wasn't as recognizable. I guess the grid was the stand-in for it. common. Yeah. It's something I do pretty often, just because the pieces are site specific and there's tons of material there. And so, you know, either that piece that I broke down, see if I could show it again. Oh, maybe it's up here. This piece, yeah, that I broke down, you know, it'll never be shown again in that way. So yeah, I just milled it up, chopped it up, and it feels good to reuse and recycle material. Yeah.
So you dismantle these and then you have these bronze castings that you've done?
Oh, those are just carved wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
They are currently on display in my house. Yeah, yeah.
For your customers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of art laying around.
Robert, you said that the conclusion of the pieces is that the state of burning is so is there a glimmer of hope? Is there something that could salvage, or that's kind of
Well, I think the glimmer of hope is to rebuild with a lot of things in mind moving forward, you know, to take what we have learned and to put it into practice, things that we know are not working, you know. Yeah, there's gotta be hope. Yeah, for sure.
In the process of making art these days, it's hard for one not to have the governmental overview creep into your mind.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you have to be solid with your idea. And I'm glad when you said I wanted to burn it, you know, that's not the first thing you think of with these muted colors. I'm just glad you didn't make it red.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks.
and again, I think, you know, sort of wondered if that was a conscious thing or sort of an aside thing, which is something that generally happens. And I see this, I think your statement on this is taking the way I understood it, more like growth. But that's a part of
Yeah, regrowth. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. What you got, Nava?
Hi.
Hi.
So in the earlier work that you showed, you were displaying some works that looked intentionally unfinished. I mean, there were tools strewn about, and there was a sense of something, a build project in the midst, unresolved. Yet it was displayed in the museum, which is the ultimate space of showing resolved work. And now you're displaying a piece that is actually, I mean, it's painted, it's displayed, it's lit, but it's displayed in a place of work. So with that observation in mind, if there were no limitations, where would you next like to display work, or at least respond with site-specific works?
I think, yeah, I think I would love to get in the public realm, do something site specifically outside within the city itself. You know, to find that perfect spot where I could really build off of the architecture in a more public setting, more direct setting. Yeah.
So are you thinking of continuing this Palladian series? Especially being that they usually come in threes?
Yeah. Well,
Magic.
there's some interesting niches that are open, you know, they kind of have that round archway and they're just open, you know, maybe there was a statue in it or something, but I've always wanted to kind of like build off of that, to just like go in there and build a structure and just kind of like build another kind of architectural structure within that empty niche. I think that could be really exciting.
Yeah, let's find one of those.
Yeah.
Find one for you. Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah,
These
thank
really,
you.
really, really great insights. Thank you.
Thanks. Do I photograph my work myself? Not anymore. I know my limitations, and yeah, I'm not a very good photographer anymore. So I know when to call in the professionals. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.
Photographing work is hard.
Hey, Nishay. I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This was our first like big hybrid event. So thank you for bearing with us. You know, we're still working out the kinks, so it'll just get better each time we do it. I want to give a big shout out to all the staff at NextFab. Without you, this isn't possible. Especially to Melissa, Ben, and Kelly. You guys just killed it for us, working with the sound and working out these problems. And thank you. You're the best. We're looking forward to next year for our third installment of the winter residency. Applications will be live in August. And so if you're interested in being a part of this great residency program, be on the lookout for announcements on our website. So I just want to thank everybody again. Have a wonderful evening and be safe.
And you can see the work until May 4th. So.
Thanks, Nava.